LiveTech reads the news. Let's see if this actually records today. Broward Sheriff Office deputy in disguise drove an unmarked car over the top of a boy on a bicycle out of a group of them in Deerfield Beach, tackled him to the ground, in a video that went viral. He's not going to be prosecuted and he can't be identified because he went out of his way to make sure he could not be identified. A group of boys on bicycles gathered at an intersection, children playing on bicycles in a suburban area, Monday afternoon. The gray unmarked Chevy SUV turned abruptly towards a boy on a red bicycle, hitting him before stopping in the street on the bike. Translation: a cop ran over a kid. The boy limped away, injured, attempted to get on his bicycle again. Deputy in uniform and in a mask exited the driver's side door of the car, barreled towards him, grabbing him by his shirt, and fell on the ground. On the grass next to the street, deputy fell on top of him and yanking at his arm. Translation: grown man tackled a child who was limping from being hit by him driving into him with his vehicle without anything visible until that moment and knocked him to the ground. Kid said, "Stop, stop, stop." He was crying. Deputy wrestling with him. 3 marked officer patrol cars and 1 unmarked car arrived, lights flashing. Deputies walked next to the child as he limped, the footage showed. Broward Sheriff's Office said deputies had been monitoring a large crowd of juveniles riding bikes recklessly and engaging in unlawful activity on their bikes throughout Hillsborough Boulevard in Deerfield Beach a little after 3 p.m. They were doing dangerous bicycle stunts, running red lights, blocking intersections, creating significant traffic disruption, interrupting, impeding flow, etc. And to be blunt, they said he made contact with one of the juveniles as he was trying to maneuver around the other cyclists. Now, of course, the video is visible. Your fat ass couldn't keep up with kids on a bike because nobody's skinny ass can. So you did what you did. You ran over them with an oversized vehicle, which is purchased by police departments that actually admit to it as being an overbearing, powerful symbol of intimidation. You ran over a kid with your car. The police department's not going to let anybody identify the person. They'll be behind shield laws and qualified immunity and magical excuses. I want to point out that a guy who killed dozens of people in a racially motivated murder spree has negotiated not to have a death penalty. I want to point out that a guy who killed a CEO has been denied the possibility of having anything. The death penalty has to be left on the table. Because doing something that terrifies the rich and powerful, or the weak, fat, and armed with a badge, you're not allowed to do that. Whether you're Luigi, or you're an 11-year-old kid who can easily outrun and outmaneuver somebody who's obviously too overweight to be a cop. And too privileged for us to know the name and face of the attacker. This is a grown man who felt completely comfortable knowing full well there's no negative consequences for running over and, if you look at the video, very likely killing a kid today, over the last few days. Made contact with one of the juveniles' bicycles as he was trying to avoid the other bicycles. No, you deliberately rammed a kid. The boy was detained, taken to hospital, later released with a juvenile civil citation. This is a ticket for a kid. The other kids got citations too, just to make sure that they understood what power and dominance are about. Defense attorney, if you're listening, refused to pay the amount, demand that the court bring it up, and demand criminal prosecution of the kid. No, I'm not kidding. Make them prosecute a kid who's hit by a police officer driving recklessly. Force it. Or make the court admit, no, we're not going to be able to get this happening. You can, I know it's a citation, but you can force the situation by being very visible and saying, no, we're going to keep recording you, judge, and we're going to make you feel very, very bad when you walk down the street for the rest of your life, or you can do what justice demands. Now we're going to do this once. You're going to admit that this was an assault with intent to do grievous bodily injury, that the kid doesn't get a fine, and we get to know his name because we're suing him in court. And it will be published, and there's nothing you can do about it. No secrecy for the police. They didn't identify the deputy, nor say how many boys were detained or what the boy who was struck by the car was cited with. He was cited with nothing. There was no citation, properly. The boy said he was at the gathering when the incident took place, wrote in a comment on the video the boy who was hit had hosted a ride-out, or a gathering where kids ride bicycles and do stunts before the deputies arrived, 10 minutes in. When I was growing up, I learned to run from local police officer, mostly so we get exercise and learning how to keep running and see if he could catch us kids. That was actually kind of a mutual thing. We also had fun just hide and seeking with the guy because he was so bored. You want your police department to be bored, empowered, healthy, functional. You do not want them to feel invulnerable to the courts and the legal system to the point that they'll run over somebody. Next. I'm a person who was fired upon by a off-duty, heavily drunk, practically naked police officer at one point. He was a retired cop. They refused to prosecute him. So I have a bias. You were a shit shot if you're still alive watching this video, you piece of shit. So yeah, and he used a pistol badly and he probably hit nothing. An ongoing organized pattern of reckless behavior by groups of juveniles. It's called going out and touching grass. It's called going out and playing. No, I don't care if they did. I don't care what they did. If you didn't provide absolute physical proof of it, at this point, it's a bunch of kids literally playing, riding bikes like we did when I was a kid. And if you watch the video, yes, his actions could have led to the death of a child, and he would have still had a shield law. Demand the person be publicly required to show their face, state what they did, say, I ran over a child. Fire them immediately, and then they're freed from being prosecuted, at least criminally, because they can never be a cop again internationally. Let's do that from now on. Every time a cop does something over-the-top fucking wrong like this, they're punished in an over-the-top way. They're barred from ever being able to do it again with any kind of shield rule. They get one shot, one gimme. Let's just say it, because, and again, somebody who shot a single person in revenge, Luigi, doesn't have the death penalty taken off the table. Another person negotiated after murdering people in a racially motivated murder spree to not have a death penalty. No, they're not the same thing. I don't give a damn. Fix this shit.